Hey everyone, welcome to Ian and Friends Lombardia preview. I am FloBikes senior editor Ian Dille.
And I am Michael Sheehan, Ian's friend. Today we are coming to you from Bellagio, Italy, the banks of Lake Como, at the base of the Ghisallo climb, and we are going to walk you through the final 70 kilometers of the Giro Lombardia.
And we are here with local cycling guide and expert Andrea Nicosia of One More Ride Tours. Andrea, can you tell us a little bit about what this race means to Italian cycling fans, and Italian professional cyclists?
Sure. Well, it's one of the most important races of the entire calendar for all the Italian cyclists, actually the local cyclists. This is a must event. We all try to come here and watch the race live on the road. So, great event.
All right, well, let's go ride it and see what the racers will be tackling on Saturday.
So we are on the Ghisallo proper. If you haven't noticed, Wahoo's saying just a tad over 15% to start things off.
Yeah, I feel like this climb doesn't really get its credit for how steep it is at the bottom. Considering it's like 5.5% average gradient for 8K.
Yeah, no, that does not take into account these bottom pitches. You know what amazes me about this race? How many switchbacks there are.
Go back and count them.
I know. You don't know how many there are in the whole race? 240K, how many switchbacks?
Whoa. Maybe, I would say 75.
Oh,
Yeah.
I feel like 75 on this climb alone.
You know, I don't think that people realize, people don't really realize that about Lombardia, because we're not in the high mountains. This is just the foothills of the Alps. But these are pretty sheer cliffs that the riders have to ride up. And the climbs are imposing.
I like how the entire last 70K of the course all takes place on the same mountain. Just from 3 different directions.
The last 70, we have 2,000 meters of elevation gain. So just 70K.
We're here about 2/3 of the way up the Ghisallo climb. We are in a cloud right now, if you haven't noticed. And yeah, this climb started off steep. It was really rude start to the climb, over 10% for the first 4K of it really. It's flattened out. We went downhill. We're about to go through the village of Chivenna before it kicks up one last time to the chapel of Madonna del Ghisallo.
And this was one of the first mountains ever introduced to a one-day cycling classic. The mountain was first introduced in 1919, and a legendary Italian cyclist, Alfredo Binda, really made his name here by attacking on this climb in 1925 and soloing to victory. He's actually from the hometown where Andrea lives. And can you tell us a little bit about what we'll see on this climb on Saturday?
Sure. So we are now 65 to go to the finish line. Usually nothing happen on the climb of the Ghisallo because it's still too far from the finish line, and the guys knows that the wall is coming soon, and also the last climb. But we might see some of the domestic attacking to try to go on a breakaway to be then supportive for their captain for the last 2 climbs. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen before the wall.
Well, all right, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
So, this is really the final push up to the chapel. You know, we had the nice rolling, flat downhill bit in the middle of the climb, and it kicks up for one last K.
So the chapel at the top of this climb, which is dedicated to cyclists, really makes this one of the most sacred climbs in all of sport, and it's fitting that it's here in Italy, one of the homes of the sport.
It really just kind of blurs the lines between religion and sport, cycling specifically, here in Italy.
Yeah, that was the last switchback. And now 400 meters straight up at 9%. There's always someone attacking on the last 500 meters here. They want to get to the top first. So.
Now, top of the climb, here's the chapel, and I don't think that people really understand what a chapel dedicated to cycling is until they walk inside. Like, it is just, yeah, something special.
I feel like this is something you would only find in Italy.
If there is another place like this on Earth, I would be very surprised.
Oh, I don't think there is.
I've never seen anything like it.
I've literally been waiting a long portion of my life to come here. So in the mid-40s, the priest of this chapel, Don Ermelindo Vigano, noticed the stream of cyclists climbing the Ghisallo climb and decided to start adding cycling artifacts to the chapel to attract local cyclists, tourists, people riding the Lombardia course to come visit the chapel.
Yeah, and in 1949, he went so far as to go to Pope Pius XII and appealed to make the Madonna del Ghisallo the patron saint of cycling, which he did. And really in epic fashion, the nation's best cyclist in 1949 rode from the Vatican in Rome carrying a torch as a relay to this chapel here. The final two riders were none other than Fausto Coppi and Bartoli, and they brought a torch here to where it is now the patron saint of cycling.
Yeah, and the busts of the three most famous cyclists in Italian history, Bartoli, Coppi, and Alfredo Binda, who summited this climb and went on to win Lombardia, are sitting right outside the door. You've been here hundreds of times, Andrea.
Yeah.
What does this place mean to Italian cycling?
Well, every time we climb up the Ghisallo, we stop here. So it doesn't matter how many times you come up here every year, you just stop, have a look inside, spend a few minutes thinking about this, and then go back. And we have a tradition actually. So every cyclist that comes into the chapel for the first time should get what we call Santino, which is basically a little car with a chapel. And this will protect you every time you're on your bike, because the Holy Mary of the Ghisallo is actually the protector of all the cyclists. So
yeah, and I want to talk about some of the artifacts that are in just this chapel. Obviously the bicycles of Fausto Coppi, Gino Bartoli, Gianni Motta, they're all right here, bikes from the early 1900s. And then I think, to me, the most breathtaking bike is that of Fabio Casartelli, which is the bike he was riding when he crashed and was killed in the Tour de France riding his bicycle, unfortunately. And you can see that the fork is still bent back from where it ran into the retaining wall.
There's a lot of history on these walls. So, despite the weather, we have soldiered on and we just got to the top of the Muro di Sormano. It is really the big, nasty climb of the day. It's only 1.8 kilometers long, but we got pitches up to 28% on this thing. Yeah, tell me a little bit about this climb's history, Ian.
So first introduced to Lombardia in 1960,
They only did it for 2 years. This climb was so difficult. The riders were using gearing of 42-tooth inner chain rings, maybe a 24-tooth cog in the rear at the most. Most of the riders were walking. The record holder from that era, Baldini, rode the climb under 10 minutes, but was pushed almost the entire way up. And so it was basically banned from Lombardia. The road fell to disrepair, never reintroduced to the race. But then it was repaved as a cycle path in 2006, designed by a local architect. And just a beautiful road with stenciling all the way up, painfully so. You can see the meters you're gaining meter by meter on the way up. You rode this ride yesterday, Andrea, with Michael Woods, Rigoberto Urán, and Simon Clark, your business partner. Can you tell us a little bit about what their thoughts on the climb were and how they thought it might affect the race on Saturday?
Yes, yesterday we did it, and it wasn't fun like it wasn't today. So the guys yesterday were trying the gears and tried to decide what gears they were going to use on Saturday. So they definitely will use some light gears to keep the cadence high enough. So to give you an example, Rigo was riding a 38-30 and he was pretty comfortable with that. So the other two guys were between 36 and 32 or 38, 32 as well. So yesterday was dry, we climbed pretty fast. Today was completely wet. I found it harder.
My back tire was spinning on the paint sometimes.
Yeah, it's truly the race of the falling leaves. There was leaves
Falling riders.
all over the hill. Yeah, and we actually saw workers out on the course on the Ghisallo sweeping the leaves off of the course to make it a little bit safer for the riders.
Yeah, speaking of falling riders, though, there is a nasty descent immediately after this climb. It's raining, we're not going to do it right now, full disclosure, but it is really the race is on from this point on. Only the strongest can make it over in the elite group on the Sormano. Then it's flat out racing. A group is going to try to consolidate going down this descent and afterwards. And then, yeah, we really hit a new addition to Lombardia, the final climb of the day.
Yeah, the Civiglio is a climb that was newly introduced to Lombardia, and while it doesn't have the history or the iconic status of the Sormano or the Ghisallo, it's building a history of its own. Last year we saw Nibali drop Pinot on the descent of the Civiglio, and it's right in Como, and it really makes for a dramatic finale.
Yeah, I believe everything will happen on the last climb. We did it yesterday with the guys as well, and it's really hard. I mean, it's never less than 10% straight up, so it never really gets easier. And also the descent is quite technical, so it's going to be exciting watching the race up there.
All right, final thing, picks for Saturday. You start, Michael. I'll go second. We'll let you have the last pick.
All right.
Romain Bardet.
I'm gonna go with Michael Woods.
Well, I would go with Rigoberto Urán. Not because I rode with him yesterday, but I saw him really in very good shape. So, and he wants to pick this race. So.
All right, well, we'll find out on Saturday.
Thanks for joining.